2016, a tourist named Anna made a chilling call to the local police in the Brazilian state of Amazonas. She claimed she had stumbled upon human bones deep within the rainforest after getting briefly separated from her group and wandering into an unfamiliar area. When police arrived on the scene, they immediately noticed ribs partially sticking out of the soil. A forensic expert took one look and confirmed they were human. The area was quickly sealed off, and a full excavation began. What they unearthed was disturbing. A complete human skeleton, later identified as Stephen Carver, a British botanist who'd gone missing the year before. Stephen had vanished in July of 2015 during an expedition into the Guatemala Biological Reserve, a massive ecological zone spanning over 2,200 square miles of the Amazon. This protected area is home to countless rare and endangered species, but it's also surrounded by local legends. One of them speaks of a red-haired wild man, a creature said to roam the jungle, screaming into the night with a voice that echoes for miles. Sightings of this mysterious being have been reported since the early 1900s. Some adventurers have even claimed to capture it on camera. But Stephen's story begins with a mission grounded in science. On July 5th, Stephen ventured into the rainforest with a team, hoping to locate a rare plant believed to cure chronic inflammation and even malaria. Around noon, he decided to explore a section of the jungle alone and was never seen again. At first, his team didn't panic. They were unfamiliar with the area and assumed he'd return shortly. But as hours passed with no sign of Stephen, they alerted the reserve authorities. By morning, local guides and volunteers had gathered around a fire, armed with machetes and hunting rifles. They boarded small motorboats and began their search, heading south along the river toward Stephen's last known location. 3 days in, searchers found a backpack near the riverbank. Inside were a camera, a phone, some plant samples, and a few supplies. One of the indigenous guides, Luis, insisted that Stephen might still be alive and urged the team not to give up. But hope was fading fast. If he had lost his pack, his chances of surviving were slim. As the group pressed on, they were met with the haunting beauty of the Amazon. Breathtaking scenery, exotic animals, and the ever-present danger lurking beneath the murky waters. Caimans, giant anacondas, and carnivorous piranhas. Despite the danger, the team continued to search, but beyond the backpack, no other clues were found. No footprints, no campsites, nothing. Just the eerie silence of a place untouched by human hands. The Amazon is no place to get lost. Poisonous plants, venomous insects, and deadly creatures are hidden in every shadow. Authorities feared Stephen had fallen victim to one of them. But as more evidence emerged, a darker theory took root. On the 8th day, Sheriff Teófilo Ferreira captured a photo in the forest that shocked everyone, a massive footprint. It was the size of 2 adult feet combined, far too large to belong to any known animal in the region. When they reviewed the camera from Stephen's backpack, it contained only mundane team photos. But his phone? That held something different. A mysterious video that might just hold the key to what really happened to Stephen Carver.
It's time to go.
In the video, Stephen appeared disoriented, clearly lost. He was moving through the jungle at night, and in the background, a strange sound echoed through the trees. It was faint at first, almost like a hum. But then came the sharp crack of branches breaking. As the video neared its end, a distinct sound broke the silence. Something heavy like a rock or a thick branch was thrown in Stephen's direction. The footage cut off right after. That short, chilling clip was the only video found on his phone. When investigators checked his call logs, they found something even more unsettling. Stephen had tried to make 7 emergency calls during his final hours, but none of them had gone through. The signal in that part of the rainforest was non-existent. They were miles from civilization, completely isolated. "This place is cut off from the outside world," said Sheriff Theophilo Ferreira. "It's easy to disappear out here." But the strange events didn't end there. Exactly 1 year after Stephen vanished, a tourist named Anna called the local police in a panic. She claimed to have found human bones deep in the jungle. She'd briefly gotten separated from her tour group and wandered into unfamiliar territory. What she found was horrifying. The site she described was dozens of miles away from where Stephen's backpack had been discovered and on the other side of a river. When officers arrived, they immediately spotted several ribs lying on the surface of the mud. The forensic team quickly confirmed they were human remains. Police taped off the area and began excavating. As they dug, more bones surfaced, until an entire skeleton was recovered from the damp earth. Most of the body was intact, except for one crucial part. The skull was missing. Forensic analysis confirmed the grim truth. The bones belonged to Stephen Carr, the British biologist who'd vanished the year before. Stephen had entered the rainforest around noon on July 5, 2015, telling his team he'd reconnect with them by evening. But when the sun went down, no one heard from him again. His phone went silent. He was never seen alive after that day. The discovery of his body forced investigators to rethink everything. Stephen hadn't just gotten lost. He didn't die of exposure. He had been buried, carefully. Someone, or something, had gone out of their way to hide his body. And then came the disturbing questions. Why was the body so far from his backpack? How did Stephen cross the river without a boat? And why leave his backpack behind, still holding valuables and cash in plain sight? Police began to suspect foul play. One theory suggested that Stephen may have been killed by an isolated indigenous tribe, the kind that rarely, if ever, makes contact with the outside world. Historically, some tribes in the Amazon did engage in cannibalism, though these practices were incredibly rare and often linked to spiritual rituals or survival during famine. Today, nearly all known tribes have integrated with modern society. Food is no longer scarce, and there have been no confirmed cases of cannibalism in decades. Still, not every tribe has been discovered. In 2018, Brazil's Indigenous Affairs Department released footage of a man believed to be the last member of an uncontacted tribe, surviving alone in the depths of the rainforest. In extreme isolation, it's possible such individuals could see outsiders as threats and act accordingly. Others believe Stephen may have accidentally consumed a toxic plant and died in confusion or agony. But that still doesn't explain the deliberate burial or the missing skull. No animal could have buried a body so carefully. No known predator acts that way. And that's when a local theory resurfaced. One that terrified even the most skeptical. Some believed Stephen had crossed paths with the Mapinguari, a legendary red-haired beast that many tribes claim roams the forest. Described as towering ape-like creatures with the body of a bear and the face of a star, these creatures are said to be unlike any known animal. Some eyewitnesses even describe them as one-eyed like a cyclops. Others claim they have a second mouth on their stomach, used to devour their prey whole. Standing between 7 to 8 feet tall, walking upright on 2 legs, they are said to resemble the North American Bigfoot, not just in size but in behavior. But there's something more chilling. They reek. Witnesses report an unbearable stench, like rotting flesh and sulfur. They say the creatures stalk livestock, and when the animals are found, if they're found, their eyes and tongues are always missing. To the locals, there's no question who's responsible. It was the Mapinguari. A survival expert later came forward, confirming that the existence of this mysterious creature might not be so far-fetched. Paul has spent nearly 30 years living in the Amazon rainforest. He knows this place like the back of his hand. But his obsession with this creature began much earlier. When I was 6 years old, Paul recalls, my father took me on a trip to the Amazon. At one point I wandered off, distracted by a colorful insect. My dad didn't realize I was gone until it was too late. Suddenly Paul heard 2 loud, bone-chilling roars, definitely not human. There are no bears or wolves in that area, he said. This sounded like a mix between a gorilla and a lion. I froze. Then I heard branches snapping, and I saw trees swaying violently. Something big was moving. His father found him shortly after, and Paul begged him to leave immediately. "That was the first time my dad saw real fear in my eyes," Paul said. Since that day, Paul has been obsessed with finding what he saw. He's spent decades venturing deep into the jungle. In 2018, he uploaded a video to social media. In the footage, a large red-furred creature, massive and upright, is seen eating with its back to the camera. Minutes later, it stands up and disappears into the thick jungle. If this footage is real, it could be one of the most compelling pieces of evidence suggesting an unknown species still lurks in the Amazon. Cryptozoologist David Oren also investigated this mysterious beast. He believes it's not the same as North America's Bigfoot. Oren theorized it could be a surviving descendant of the giant ground sloth, a species thought to be extinct. His team ventured deep into the rainforest, collected samples of fur and droppings suspected to be from the creature, but tests later identified them as coming from anteaters or tapirs. Still, Oren holds firm to his theory: there's something out there. Personally, based on everything I've seen and read, I believe this creature, known locally as the mapinguari, is some kind of undiscovered giant ape. Much like Florida's infamous skunk ape, it can wade through swamps and has scent glands that emit an unbearable stench. If Stephen was really killed by this red-furred giant, then it could have easily carried his body across dozens of miles. In other Bigfoot-related cases, hikers' bodies were also found torn apart, missing limbs, or missing heads entirely. It's strange, but many of these incidents share a common trait. The skulls are always missing. Why? No one knows. The Amazon is home to over 1.5 million species of plants and animals. Every year, scientists discover hundreds of new species here. It's one of the most biologically rich and unexplored places on Earth. Stephen Calder's mysterious disappearance, like so many others, remains unsolved. Whether it was a tragic accident, a dark act of violence, or something far more terrifying, one thing is clear: the Amazon still holds secrets, and the mapinguari, South America's Bigfoot, may be more than just a legend. It might be the jungle's guardian, protecting its territory in a way that only nature understands. If you found this story as chilling and thought-provoking as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life mysteries and terrifying tales. Have you ever experienced something you can't explain? Tell us in the comments. We're listening.